We're back from Fargo and we're never doing that again. We are on the road and on our way to Fargo. I can't believe it. We haven't left the house and gone on a trip since 2018, and I am so excited. It is a 3.5 hour drive, and so I am looking forward to seeing how this trip is going to go. I know it's not going to be an easy one on my body, so we're going to document it for you guys and see how this trip is going to take a toll. I know it's not going to be an easy one, but it's going to be worth it. We're going to be spending some time with some friends out in Fargo and just enjoying a lovely long weekend. So here goes for a 3.5 hour drive. We've got some lovely accoutrements with me to try and make this drive just a little bit easier. So we'll see how those test out in the car. We've got some electrolyte drinks to try and keep me hydrated. We're trying to make this as easy on my body as humanly possible. And of course, you know, with the lovely American border, you just never know how long we'll be waiting. So we'll see how that goes as well. Border done. Thankfully, that was uneventful until we realized that one of our wheels almost fell off. Yay, road trips! We had our tires changed from our winters to our summers, and you know how it goes. Our wonderful Manitoba roads are just, you know, a little bumpy. And so thankfully Luke noticed, and we stopped the car before the wheel fell off, and Luke tightened all of our wheels back up. So that was fantastic. You know, my back is holding up so far. Actually, as time goes on, I feel a little bit better, but I'm going to take one of my massagers and take some time, as we're about an hour in, and use it now before things get worse. Hopefully that will give me a bit of a break, and then once we get to Grand Forks, we're gonna take a bit of a pit stop, get out of the car, maybe grab a bite to eat. We'll see how we're feeling, and then continue on the road to Fargo. We'll keep you posted. Grand Forks behind us, Fargo ahead of us. We have about 45 minutes left. I needed that break. I am ready to get out of this car, and we're not there yet. Massager is working on my back. Hopefully it will get me through the last little trek that we've got left, but I am definitely looking forward and happy to say that we've got a hot tub waiting for us at the hotel, and thank goodness, because I'm gonna need it. Whew, okay. Goodness gracious, I am looking forward to this trek being done. 3 hours, I have to say, is probably very much my limit. I don't think I'd go much further, and I don't think I would do this very often. It's one of those things that we haven't been out and about since 2018. I still haven't done a flight yet, which is something we are thinking about doing eventually. Obviously, I'm going to get back on a plane one of these years, but we wanted to do a bit of a road trip before we decided to take on a flight. So this is a good first trek for me, but 3 hours in a car is definitely going to be kind of the longest we're going to do for a little while, that's for sure. We'll see you back when we finally get to the hotel.
Steph, what are you going for?
Future Stephanie here. As you can see, we are back from Fargo, and I just had too many thoughts to try and cram in Fargo. I needed some time to process our trip, and quite frankly, there was just too many things that I'd learned that I just needed to have a sit down with myself and have a chat with you guys to wrap up this video and give you guys a few lessons learned. The reality is this trip was our first trip with me being a person with disabilities. We haven't traveled since 2018. And in 2018, as much as, quite frankly, I was already a person with disabilities, I was not a person with disabilities in a wheelchair. I was not actively using a wheelchair or any mobility aids at this point. And so once you start using mobility aids and having really accessibility issues when it comes to using stairs and things like that, things kind of change dramatically when it comes to mobility itself and travel. And this is something we hadn't encountered when traveling before. And quite frankly, we should have probably taken it about 10 times more seriously. And unfortunately, we didn't. Prepping for this trip came to bite us in the butt about 10, 15 times. We just weren't prepared for it. We didn't plan for it. Yeah, we should have known, but the reality is we live in this home where I don't have to think about it day to day anymore. It's crazy how quickly when you don't have to think about it anymore, you forget. I hope this gives you guys a bit of a reminder if you guys are planning a trip or if you guys are planning things that you gotta think about every little step of your trip. And I know it's tedious, but the reality is you need to, or else you're going to find yourself getting annoyed throughout your trip, and we definitely did. We showed up at the hotel, and I know in the video, as you guys may have seen, I mentioned that I was going to film a little "we arrived at the hotel" moment. Well, that never happened, because upon arrival, things kind of went a little awry. They actually had us on a second floor hotel room. We booked through Expedia, and this is where my lesson number one came through. We unfortunately just can't book through these cheap sites or these deal sites anymore. We need to have conversations directly with these hotels now, because we need to book accessible rooms. We need to make sure we're on main floors. We need to make sure they have elevators. These are all things I just wasn't thinking of when we booked our hotel room with our friends. Thankfully, we got really, really lucky that the hotel room was obviously very kind and saw me in my chair and instantly was able to put me in a room on the main floor. This was just a 2-story hotel, kind of motel lodge. They were able to put us in a room on the main floor. This unfortunately created a bunch of other drama. The hotel room that they put us in was not a room that was necessarily fit for rent. And so we had a bunch of other issues throughout our trip, and that was just unfortunate. But they were able to accommodate my accessibility issue, which we were very thankful for. And so these are the things that when we were planning our trip, I just wasn't thinking of. It's unfortunate. Lesson learned. We're never gonna do that one again. Maybe we needed to go through this trip and kind of have a bit of a complex trip this time around to really learn our lesson and really have to dig through the challenges of being a person with accessibility issues. It made this trip really, really challenging, and we didn't get to enjoy ourselves quite as much as I would have liked to because of all of these little things that added up really into kind of this big ball of, I wouldn't say drama, but challenges due to the fact that the hotel room wasn't accessible. And there were these little things like the bathroom was so small that at one point I was in the bathroom. Obviously, it's a tub bathroom. I was in the shower. Luke was trying to help me out of the tub, and there's a door in the way, and things are just not working out. The bathroom's tiny. We just had a moment. I almost had a meltdown. This bathroom was just so small. We just didn't think these things through because we don't have to think about these things at home anymore. And lo and behold, the room next door to us is the accessible room at the hotel. And had we planned ahead And had we called the hotel room, we could have maybe had that room. Of course, the hotel by the time we got there was fully booked. And of course, we had no way of accessing that room by the time we got there. But it's all these things that, you don't think about when you've never had to book an accessible room before. And so that was the hotel bit of our trip. It unfortunately just wasn't what we had hoped for, but lesson learned to make sure that you pre-book with the hotel directly, make sure that they're aware of your needs, make sure that they understand what's going on, where your needs are, what your capacity is, just so that they have a better understanding going in. And quite frankly, so that that going in, everything is going to go a little bit smoother as well. The second thing we forgot to do was actually bring water with us, which seems kind of ridiculous because we are the water kings and queens. We drink a lot of water. We usually bring water with us everywhere, and somehow we forgot to do that. We also assumed that there would be access to water at the hotel. There was tap water. The only other access to water was bottled water. And with our arrival being a little bit later on the Friday, we realized that we had no access to drinking water between Friday night and Saturday morning, which was a little bit complicated because we drink quite a bit of water. I obviously need water for my meds, and drinking water out of a tap in a hotel room in the middle of Fargo we probably could have gotten away with it. Did we really want to take the risk? It's one of those things that, considering everything that was going on in this hotel room, and there's a lot more that we could share with this crazy hotel room. I could do a full review just on the madness that was this hotel room. We just didn't kind of want to take the chances. We decided, unfortunately, to just have to buy from a vending machine, which ended up costing us. It was unfortunate, it sucked, but it was the only option we had at the point. It was an expensive mistake. Again, had we planned properly, we would have brought at least a flat of water with us in the car. The other big thing that I assumed as a Canadian is that in the US, things are very much the same. From a compliance perspective, everyone says that ADA or, the Accessibility Act in the US is actually better than up here in Canada, or it's that standard, the ADA standard. And quite frankly, if you look at the act, there are very, very good standards in the US. The ADA standard is very, very high. We noticed a few really interesting quirks that I wanted to share with you guys. Before I go into that though, I wanted to share with you that if you ever go down to the States and you have a parking permit placard, you are allowed to bring it down with you. Please use it. It is completely allowed to be used. It took me a few hours searching and making sure that I could bring mine down. If you have an accessibility parking permit for Manitoba, it is completely valid in the United States, in the EU, and in Australia, as well as a couple other countries. And so if you do travel, make sure that you bring your parking permit with you because it is completely valid in so many countries. I feel so lucky being a Canadian because it does allow us a lot of flexibility with bringing these types of compliance paperwork with us. It's a really fabulous tool. Make sure that you bring it with you. Obviously, we were bringing our car with us, and so it allowed us to park in accessibility spots pretty much wherever we were going shopping, which was really, really nice. Unfortunately, it took me way too long to find out that information, which is really unfortunate. I was a little disappointed in Manitoba Possible not having that information really easy to find on their website, which is something I'm going to have to deal with when I have a moment. Now, back to ADA. One of the big things that I found in the US is the accessibility buttons on doors. Something that we were shocked by when we were shopping was that all of the doors in the US don't have accessibility buttons or the automated buttons pretty much anywhere as we went. That it be Target, Walmart, the big box stores, the malls, almost none of them had buttons. Some of them obviously have automatic doors, but none of them have automated door buttons. For a country that is known for its ADA compliance, and that is something up here in Canada is mandated, I thought that was just such an interesting quirk. I just didn't understand why they didn't have it. It was one of those interesting facts that I wanted to share with you guys. I don't know if this is a North Dakota thing, if it's a statewide thing, but I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. If you're from another state and you guys have accessibility buttons, or if you don't, I'd love to know. Do you have more information as to why you guys don't have them? I don't know. Like I say, I have no idea if this is a North Dakota thing or if this is a United States thing. Is it an ADA compliance thing? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. But up here in Canada, it is something that we have absolutely almost everywhere. If a building gets renovated, it's mandated now. So I just mind blown on that one. So that was a fun fact of the day. I hope this video is helpful for someone who may be planning to travel soon. I know this is a lot of information. As much as I complained about the hotel room, we still had a great trip with our friends, and we really did enjoy our time in Fargo. The US is an interesting place, and we did enjoy so much good food while we were down there. Glad to be home and glad to be in my own space again. But we did have a wonderful, wonderful long weekend. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to slow your roll. Did you like this video? Check this one out next.